Thank you. My name is Allison Enright. Like the introduction said, I'm the editor of Internet Retailer Magazine. And this is the session on how to succeed in the mobile commerce revolution. So hopefully you're in the right spot. Just first to set up the presentation, I'm going to speak for about 10-15 minutes about how we really got here, how the mobile commerce revolution actually occurred. And then Whitney and I are going to have a little fireside chat Q&A. And then at the end, if we have a few minutes, we'll open it up for a Q&A session from the audience. So first of all, how did we get here? I've been covering marketing and mobile, well, marketing especially, for about 15 years. And I was thinking about as CJ invited me to come do this presentation, and I'm like, when did this happen? How did this happen? It seemed to kind of come out of nowhere. And I was thinking about, and I looked up the dates on this because I remember I was going to the movies to see the movie Chicago with a few of my friends. And I had, just that same day, bought my first flip phone. And I remember we were waiting for the movie to start, and I opened up the phone and I was showing my friends, look what I just got, look, it's all new. And everybody was so bowled over that it had like that green screen and it had an animated panda walking across the screen. And it was like, and people were like, oh, that's so cool, look, think of all you can do, all this stuff. And that was the first phone I got my first text message on as well. And it was like, okay. And at the time I was covering marketing. And I sat down with my editor, and I'm like, everybody's really impressed with these phones. What's going to happen next? How can we use this as a mobile vehicle, as a vehicle to communicate with consumers? And that's like 2002, because I looked up when Chicago came out. It was 2002, which is a long time ago. And at the time, she said, I don't see a story here. I was like, okay, all right, you're the boss, I'll let it be. So a couple years go by, and it's about 2005, and I have a little more authority at that publication at that point. And another writer came up, and he was pitching. He's like, oh, I want to do this thing about the mobile marketing, mobile revolution. And it was the time we were doing a year-end issue. We were talking about what are the big trends going to be for next year. And he wanted it on the cover, and I'm like, no, I don't really see it being valid. This is about 2005. I don't really see it being cover material. But let's write a story. Let's do a feature on it. And this was when, SMS text messaging campaigns and stuff. That was about as far as had gotten by 2005. And so we're like, okay, we'll make it the third feature. We've given it its due. And so there we're at 2005. And again, it was like really hard to find a good story. So let's fast forward. And I've been an internet retailer for about 4 years now. And obviously the mobile had come up with the iPhones and all the different devices that were coming out and all of that, and we were starting to see more spending on mobile marketing. And back in 2011, we started talking about, okay, how are we going to be tracking this, especially within the mobile e-commerce space, or the e-commerce space, retail space. And at Internet Retailer, we have our publication side, which I'm on, and then we have a research side. And it was decided we're going to start tracking mobile sales that are happening on mobile devices. And so we came out with our first mobile research guide. And in this was October 2012, I said, okay, well, let's put it on the cover. And we're kind of trying to come up with the imagery that we can use. And we'd seen all the numbers about mobile spending and everything coming up. And we're like, it kind of came out of nowhere. It had been simmering along. It was quaint. It was a novelty, but it was not really impactful at that point. But then 2011, 2012, it was just like exploded. And the imagery we came up with for the cover was, it was a tidal wave, like a tsunami. And I remember kind of pitching the idea for the cover, and it was like, dating myself, this is way before I was even born, but if anybody remembers the Poseidon Adventure, that old movie, probably not, 1972, look that one up too. Poseidon Adventure is a rogue wave knocks over this ocean liner, and everybody's flipped upside down, and they're trying to get out to save themselves and everything. But we kind of likened it to what was going on with mobile commerce. It was out there, and then all of a sudden it just exploded. And now retailers were trying to stop flailing around and figure out what to do. They had to come up with a strategy to get out of that ocean liner. So that was 2012. 2013, our cover for the mobile commerce issue was mobile commerce blasts off. We had like a NASA rocket like at the launch pad with all the smoke coming up, and it's like, okay, you've stabilized. Now this is the time, put the pedal to the metal, and really go. So mobile has gone from being a quaint, a novelty, to being an essential part of retail. So let me jump into my slides. I've got tons of data for you guys. You can take a look at the numbers on screen. Today, 62% of all time spent with online retail occurs on smartphones and tablets. And that number is going to continue to get bigger and bigger. What's more, Forrester Research predicts about 25% of all e-commerce sales will be mobile sales this year. Monthly time spent on the internet, again, just astounding statistics. 34 hours and 17 minutes on your smartphone versus 27 hours and 3 minutes on your desktop. I wish I had actually earlier data for this to show you how that has tipped. It's just been milestone after milestone in the last year. What's more, smartphones are now more popular than the American institution that is television. Again, look at the numbers. It's 2 hours and 27 minutes on average a day for televisions, 2 hours and 31 minutes on smartphones, and 43 minutes on tablets. So if you combine smartphones and tablets, you're way over. Video, obviously, big. 33 minutes a day, smartphone and tablets, 22 minutes a day on PCs. And this is everything from short YouTube clips to full-length movies via streaming services. So how do all these milestones and changing behaviors translate to the online shopping space? So this is data from our newly published Mobile 500. Like I said, we've been doing this every year for the last couple of years. And Mobile 500 offers a very current snapshot of where we are today. The Mobile 500 ranks the 500 online retailers globally with the greatest amount of sales coming through the mobile web and mobile apps. I'll show you who the top 10 are in a minute, but what you can see here is that we project mobile online retail sales will grow 77% year over year this year to $117.78 billion. About 30% will come from sales generated on eBay from consumers around the world using their smartphones and tablets to make a purchase. I kind of we segment eBay out because technically not a retailer, but more of a platform. But the largest piece of that total will be spent with US retailers, about $59 billion. And if you kind of do the math for US e-commerce sales, Commerce Department last year estimated about $260 billion was spent online with online retailers last year. And if year-over-year growth stays steady, and I think it will, it's been 15 to 17% for the last couple of years, that would put 2014 e-commerce sales at about $300 billion. And so if you do the math, what we estimate and what the Commerce Department looks like it's going to be, you can see that about 20% of US e-commerce sales will happen on mobile. And that's really just a conservative estimate. 20%, $1 in $5 is going to be transacted on smartphones or tablets. So, I mean, you can't deny with 20%, 1 in 5, figuring out your mobile strategy can't be an afterthought. So when it comes to online shopping, there's an interesting new kind of shopper, and that's the mobile-only shopper. This person never uses anything other than a smartphone or tablet to shop the web. Web measurement firm ComScore created these numbers that you're seeing on the screen, and it's really pretty astounding. Amazon, 29%, mobile only. eBay, 29% also. The high there, I think, is Target, 43%, and then the other various top retailers that you're familiar with. This is also from ComScore. And it estimates within the e-commerce space, 80% of the time consumers spend with retailers via mobile device actually happens within mobile apps. 20% is on the mobile web. This has kind of been a shift that's really changed over the last couple years. It was obviously before the other way around. In the Mobile 500, that's about half of the retailers in the Mobile 500 this year have mobile shopping apps. Some smaller retailers that don't have particularly loyal customers might not be the right to have a mobile app, but other merchants are seeing the need to be thinking about apps, as mobile consumers, as you can tell from the data, simply love apps. And we did a little bit of more of a data analysis with the Mobile 500, and we found that comparing retailers with and without apps, retailers that have apps are growing mobile sales about 10 percentage points faster than those without them. We'll look at app features, since this is a pretty important one, in just a minute. But I wanted to show you, here are the top 10 e-retailers according to their mobile sales. Amazon's on top, Apple's number 2. Last year it was actually flipped. Amazon had 16.8 billion. We're estimating 16.8 billion in mobile sales this year. Apple number 2 with 14 billion. 3 of these top 10 are actually from China. I don't know if you're familiar with with these companies, but we've got Jingdong Mall, Suning, and Xiaomi. Number 7, Otto Group. They're a German company, and one of their holdings here in the US is they own Crate & Barrel. So here's a little bit more on the apps. Since 80% of time is spent through apps with retailers, here are some of the commonalities that we see. First off, have an iPhone app, 233. Have an Android, that's an Android smartphone app, it's 204. So we're starting to see that narrow. A year ago, those numbers were much further apart. Some of the things that work within apps, 127 offer mobile exclusive deals within their apps to their consumers. 106 take advantage of location, offering location-specific data or offers. And 73 have in-store features to appeal to customers using mobile as a shopping assistant while in stores. Okay, now I want to jump to a little bit of data specifically about mobile ad spending. I know you guys are all in this industry. This is probably not a surprise to you. But you can see the big jumps that are happening in mobile ad spending. This is data from eMarketer, but IAB data from over the last few years shows that spending on ads served to consumers using mobile devices grew at a compound annual growth rate of 123%. 123% from 2010 to 2013. That's compared to about a 12% compound annual growth rate for non-mobile digital ads. The eMarketer data here, I know this is mostly an affiliate audience, but the eMarketer data shown here in the chart are projections for mobile paid search specifically, with overall mobile marketing this year to top $17.7 billion. 40% of that $17.7 billion is going to go to paid search. So some specific stuff about mobile. And I wanted to point to social and messaging services, specifically for the example that we have here in WeChat. WeChat is a social app in China. It's the largest, I believe it has the most users of any social networking style app in China. And it was built specifically for mobile. It's sort of a cross between texting, Twitter. Users can send video, they can voice messages, send payments, and play games. And you can do lots of great stuff, and it's all built for mobile. And the thing with WeChat is that it was, from its start, it was much more tightly entwined with commerce than the social networks that we have here in the US. Consumers can actually place an order and pay all within the app and do it within seconds. And it's just a totally different approach than what we're used to seeing here. Xiaomi, which was one of the top 10, it was actually, I think, number 10 in the top 10 mobile retailers list, conducted, just as an example, conducted a flash sale entirely within WeChat in November. And Xiaomi is a phone manufacturer. They make smartphones. And it sold 150,000 of their latest model smartphone on WeChat's platform in 9 minutes and 55 seconds. 150,000 phones, 9 minutes and 55 seconds. It's just incredible. So I wrap up here, I wanted to point out 2 more things. First of all, things that are going to, 2 more mobile trends that are emerging and have the potential to change the role of mobile in retailing. One of which is beacons. Again, it's kind of been talked about for 18 months, 2 years by now. They're finally starting to hit the market, and retailers are starting to adopt them. These are 3 retailers that do have them either tested or fully rolled out into their stores. Alex and Annie has it in all 40 stores. American Eagle Outfitters has beacons in 100 stores through the Shopkick app. And then 10 stores in New York, Dwayne Reed stores in New York have them. With the beacons, retailers can use location data to ping them with the promotions or service messages that can make shopping more engaging within the store. And it really extends the potential for one-on-one marketing. And you can put everything you know, if you do it well, you can put everything you know about the consumer to wow them really at the point of purchase. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, relating somewhat to Apple's announcement from yesterday, is the development of biometric fingerprint scanning or one-touch checkout. PayPal and Apple have been really the leaders in this space. PayPal rolled out one-touch fingerprint thing with Samsung Galaxy phones earlier this year. And I think just last week they rolled out One Touch to mobile retailers, which allows consumers with a PayPal account linked to her mobile device to check out with just one touch. And if that sounds a little bit familiar to you, it's because Amazon's been doing that with their mobile site for years, and is probably a big reason why they're the #1 mobile commerce retailer out there. Secondly, related to Apple just yesterday, and this had been rumored for a while, they are opening up their one-touch biometrics they're opening up the API to developers. So as kind of extending that out here, what retailers with mobile apps will be able to do is take that capability, incorporate it within their mobile apps, and again, let consumers check out with one touch, which has been one of the biggest hindrances to mobile commerce's adoption, is just the crazy complicatedness of typing in all that information with your thumbs. And it's also the reason why PayPal, part of eBay, has really been successful in this space. If you're interested in some of the data that I presented here, check out our site. And now we're going to move over to our Q&A with Whitney.
Hi, so my name is Whitney Sales. I head up partnerships for Wanelo.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what you do with Wanelo and kind of give the audience a top line if they're not familiar? I'm sure most of them are.
Yeah, so basically I work with all of our brands on partnerships overall, and Wanelo, for those of you who aren't familiar, stands for Want, Need, and Love. So essentially we are a marketplace for all the things that you want, need, and love. One way to contextualize it, you can essentially think of us like a digital mall, but with 2,000 times the size. We have 14 million products from 350,000 stores. And when you look at where we really play in the market, we bridge the gap between social and e-commerce. And because of that, we're actually seeing for the retail space becoming a huge player in the space. For Urban Outfitters, for example, ModCloth, Nasty Gal, Crate & Barrel brands were actually their largest social media network. And we're relatively new for the space. We came about 2 years ago. So had some pretty significant traction as a result.
Great. Well, can you kind of give us a little bit about how Wanelo has weathered the mobile commerce revolution?
Yeah, so we actually came about when the mobile commerce revolution started. So we originally started as a desktop site, and we've seen our traffic actually move. We're 90% mobile now, and in-app. So the vast majority of our traffic has actually come from that, and I think it also has a lot to do with who our target audience is. It's the millennial generation. So
in your movements there, is everything mobile first?
Yes.
Everything's mobile.
Everything's mobile first.
Every app, every tool, every trick that you guys have up your sleeve.
Yep. We are actually iterating on our app weekly and have a new version of our app to test internally on a weekly basis. Test everything. Test it first.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. What about the retailers and brands Wanelo works with? I mean, what are they telling you when you talk with them or go into meetings? How are they coping with mobile commerce revolution?
Yeah, so there's the thing that I've really learned in working with retailers is retailers are really great at retail, but we're still trying to catch up a little bit when it comes to the technology and the mobile space, which you touched on a little bit. And it's been a really quickly changing industry. So it started with mobile sites, and now retailers are starting to move into mobile apps. But there's a number of challenges that come with that. Some of the things we're starting to see is the retailers starting to capitalize on where their mobile users are. So for example, on Wanelo, Urban Outfitters added the mobile button on the site, which you guys actually did a featured article on. Another example is Nordstrom's actually did a really cool experience where they featured us, our trending feed, which is all the trending products on Wanelo at a given period of time. They took those products and then transferred them into their stores on their video walls. And then they also created an entire trending page on their website, which I found out yesterday is actually one of their highest trafficked style sections of their site.
Yeah, that's a really kind of a cool program with Nordstrom. You know, Nordstrom's working on some stores that, like a store designed specifically for millennial shoppers.
Yep.
They really are trying to design around this shopper now, the shopper segment that you guys are targeted perfectly for. So
yeah, they've done a phenomenal job actually.
Okay, so what about mobile conversions? I mean, the sales are growing, but it's not really easy for customers right now to do the conversions yet. How do you see, has anybody really cracked it?
So it's a really interesting question. Shopping is hard. It's incredibly hard, and it's a really hard code to crack. And there's a number of challenges that you want to look at first before you think about how to crack it. And we're getting there. I think we are starting to get there, obviously, with the change in conversion rates and things like that are starting to occur. But if you think about shopping, there's some really interesting things that you have to do. So there's the social element. As shoppers, we actually want to engage with people when we're going on trying on products. I want to share something with my friend. I want to get their opinion. It's the things that I do in a mall. But this new generation of shopper, they're doing everything digitally. So how do you start to recreate that experience in the digital world? There's size issues around online shopping. How do you know it's going to fit me? My colors, I want to make sure the color's right for me. I want to compare and contrast between the two. And currently the shopping experience is incredibly fragmented. If you guys have ever heard Dina talk, our CEO, it's the whole reason she got into the market. She got so frustrated with online shopping. And we're getting a lot better at it. I mean, obviously, there's a huge opportunity there. I mean, Twitter launched their buy button this week. But in those platforms, the issue that they really ran into is none of them are designed specifically for shopping. If you think about it, if you look on Pinterest, there's the images that are up there, but you don't know which ones are actually purchasable. If you go on Twitter, you'd actually have to be in Twitter in the mood to shop, looking to click on the button when someone actually posts a product. So they're really not designed for that.
It's hard to catch them.
Yeah. And Juanilo's has solved that problem because we were originally designed around shoppable products. And each of these challenges that I just mentioned we're actually tackling in really interesting ways.
So what kind of user stats, like frequency of logging on to Juanilo, or how? I mean, like Whitney and I were talking before, and I just downloaded the app for the first time a couple days ago, and like I'm getting these push notifications, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me check, let me see what it looks like. I mean, what is can you share a little bit of what the frequency is on use, or?
So our average user is on the site for 50 minutes a day. That's 50 a day. We have really captured that always-on experience. We, on average, every second, we on average are getting 424 saves per product. And to give you guys a point of comparison for that, an average image on Pinterest gets repinned 10 times. An average image or an average product on Juanilo gets resaved 140. So, and our top stores are seeing in the thousands. So really, really high product engagement because our users are there to shop.
Well, and I guess you alluded to this a little bit before about how you test everything. I mean, what are, for Juanilo, I mean, what are the challenges of app design and app use and getting consumers to come back and spend 50 minutes a day with your app?
Yeah, so I mean, apps are really hard. I mean, apps in general, design, it's a really hard challenge. The way we've solved that is we test everything, but and so we want to see what actually capitalized on each individual user. But when you look at apps, there's three kind of core challenges that we really like to think about and tackle. So the first case is use. If you think about the retail space overall in an individual store, for example, you have to capitalize your user and get them back in the app using it. An average app is downloaded once. 90% of apps are downloaded once and deleted. An average app life is 23 days. So how do you actually engage your user in your app and actually keep them in a really sticky way? And so there's two ways that we've really looked at that. So you have the use issue. So the second two pieces are design and then personalization. And if you look at design, you want something clean, you want something simple. And so many apps are over-designed. We try and add all the features and functionality that you do on an online site, and it's just not capable in an app. Your goal is to get someone to purchase products, so you don't need a lot of the feature and functionality around the marketing pieces that you have on your website. And so keeping it clean and simple and focused on getting the user to convert on those products. The second piece around that is really has to do with the personalization piece. So We all have a lot of information about our buyers previously, especially with an app. You've seen their previous buying behavior. You have them logging in. You may be using a Facebook page. You have their that history. You can use that. You can use them to drop them on products that are likely to be for their individual profile. You can recommend products. So a lot of the things that we do on our regular sites, we can actually start to bring those into the app experience. And one other piece to really highlight in just in general in app design is the unlimited scrolling. Providing unlimited products for users to look at instead of having to go from page to page to page. You want to give them an opportunity to continue looking at products. They looked at all the t-shirts, okay, drop them into the shorts or the pants or the loungewear, depending on their individual profile.
That never-ending scroll is like
the best thing ever.
I don't know why we didn't think of this years ago, designers.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing. Can you share, like we were talking earlier about Urban Outfitters being on Wanelo and the success that they've had there. I mean, can you talk a little bit about some of the best use cases that you're seeing and the results you're seeing with your retailers through the Wanelo app?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, the thing that you have to think about is Wanelo as a whole, because we're 100% products, it really is focused on that retail experience. And because of that, I'm not sure if any of you guys read the Women's Wear Daily article, but there were a ton of stats in that around our big brands and some of the successes they had. But Urban Outfitters was actually one of the first big brands to actually get on Wanelo. They were early, they adopted us in early 2013 because they saw the opportunity. And because of that, they have 2.8 million followers on Wanelo, which is bigger than Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which is huge for us, and it's huge for them. They see 4 times the conversion rate on our platform than any other social media platform. Another example is Revolve Clothing. They actually got on the site early this year. And they've been one of our biggest advocates because they saw the success and what they're able to do. We are their fastest growing social network, fastest growing traffic, and highest converting. So it's pretty phenomenal in that regard when it comes to the social networks. And then another piece of information is around Farfetch. They see 5 times the value per purchase from a Wanelo user versus Pinterest user. So really interesting stats around that.
Are, for example, like the retailers you just mentioned, are they able to do, or have they figured out ways to personalize the experience, like post, if they know they came through Wanelo, for example, originally, are they doing anything to make the rest of the experience more personalized?
So I mentioned that Urban Outfitters added the button in-app.
Right.
They were the first ones to do that. Nordstrom's knows the users that are coming to their site from Wanelo. There's making sure that your site's mobile optimized for a Wanelo user, and you're getting them because they're likely to be coming through mobile, and making sure you're dropping them on a really awesome mobile experience. So those are some of the things we're seeing and how they're personalizing that element.
Yeah, I think it's all about knowing your customer, and if you know that they are avid users of a particular app, there's so much more you can do to make sure that you're getting exactly what they want.
Yeah, it's a strong experience. Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Demographics. I mean, obviously, Wanelo's demographic is 50% millennial, 18 to 24. Is that 18 to 24 women? 50%?
Yep, 90% women.
90%. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that the buying power of that demographic and what that means for retailers moving forward? I mean, right now, 18 to 24 is, there's kind of getting into their buying, their peak purchasing years.
Yeah, so there was an article or a report that came out from Accenture this year that millennials will make up 30% of all retail by 2020. And some really interesting stats around them currently is 1/3 of them have not been in an enclosed mall in the past year. Okay. And half of them are shopping a minimum of an hour a day online. And the reason you'll see this is really has to do with that specific generation. They were the generation to grow up with a phone in hand. So I can tell you myself, I am less likely to walk out of my house with my cell phone than my wallet at this point. And that's that's really important piece to think about, because this is the generation that is used to the always-on experience. They are with their phones 24/7, and as retailers, you now have the opportunity to have a mall with your buyers in hand at all times, which is a really cool experience, and there's a lot of opportunity in that.
And it's interesting about the store thing too. I mean, enclosed malls are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, if the millennials aren't hanging out in malls, you know, how are you going to reach them, especially 10 years down the line when they're making twice as much money and really moving into their peak spending years? It's pretty interesting to see how you have to figure it out now so that you're prepared later.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Social and mobile go hand in hand with millennial consumers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's this is the generation that grew up with a social application for everything. They've moved into the digital era, and how they connect with each other is digitally. And so what that means for retailers is that they really have to create a social experience for the users, which means there needs to be easier sharing, ways to share their products with one another. There needs to be that personalization element of tagging and hashtagging and allowing people to interact with products in a social way. And it's a really important thing to think about as you start to evolve your app and your online experiences for this generation of shopper.
Yeah, it's just incredible with the social elements, and we're seeing really great creative examples of social and mobile merging, and I'm just excited to see what happens next. It really is pretty great scenario to be watching right now. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Great. And then just to sum up, how do you see mobile changing the way retailing is done moving forward? I mean, you talked about having the mall in your pocket. What else do you expect mobile to represent?
Yeah, so there's some really big problems, as I mentioned, that you have to solve around shopping and mobile itself. There's the discovery element, so actually discovering brands, and because your consumers are not going to be going to you anymore, you need to come to your consumer. So how do you start to engage those users in a different way and actually get these new users to actually discover your brand? There is, and in the same way, going with the consumer where they are, there's the geolocation and targeting and engaging users where they are at a given period of time. There's transactions to solve because the shopping experience is so fragmented. How do you start to engage people in a brand while still solving the individual transaction, but not necessarily on site anymore, and something to think about.
Do you see retailers, I mean, obviously the challenge is the discovery, the targeting, the location, all these pieces. I mean, in your position, you are talking with retailers all the time. I mean, do you think that they're ready to tackle the mobile challenge? Are they tackling it successfully? I don't want to put you too much on the spot there.
No,
but,
it's a good question. Some of them are getting ready. And they're doing a good job getting ready by building out the technology skill sets amongst their teams, but it's moving very slowly. And when I talk to retailers and they're working on month-long, 2-month-long, 3-month-long sprints, it's not fast enough for mobile. Yeah. And when the age life of your app is shorter than your sprint, you have an issue. And we're going to need to get a lot faster in development, be able to test a lot faster, and the technical knowledge within the retailing space needs to grow. And it's probably the biggest challenge I see for retailers is they are really great at retail, but they really need to catch up on the technology side.
So if you're looking for a job, learn your mobile technology.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway of that is you'll do well for yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, and there's so much innovation happening in the space right now. There's tons. And it's really, really interesting to be in an industry that's evolving so quickly. And for the retailers who are able to do it, there's huge opportunity. I mean, some of the stores on One Elo, small Etsy sellers are the same size as some of the larger retailers, which, I mean, it's starting to level the playing field. And we're going to have to advance with it.
Whitney, thank you. And I think that wraps us today.